Roof is all on. I came up short on one piece of fascia that I've got to put up, but porch is all built. Looks really good. Windows and doors are all in. So it is looking pretty good. I have all of the metal on the back side done and the other gable end. We're all complete on this side and that side except for some corner trims, which I'll do those very last. But today is supposed to be light winds. But what I'm going to try to do is get this up above, gable end above the porch done. Then tomorrow it's supposed to rain, so I can either work underneath the porch or I can work inside on some spray foam prep stuff. Before I get going on that, I have to add some blocking on these hip ends. You can see where that light line is, that's the porch coming down, so I need to add a block in there for my trims. Right there, and then over there. We got two piles of metal. I know all the black is the roof metal, so I don't have to deal with that right now. And then all the charcoal is the side metal. You can see I got a lot of different lengths there. I'm going to go through my drawings of how, and I have them all marked in length, and do the tedious task of getting all this organized and kind of put where it needs to be. This is the part that I don't like because it just seems like it takes a lot of time and I'm not getting anything done. Something's got to be done, so we're going to go ahead and start sorting through all this based on my drawings. Good advice: if you measure, draw out a side of your wall, draw your pieces in, and put your measurements there, so then later on when you get your steel, you know what all the pieces are and you're not guessing. I'm gonna get going. Probably take me, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour to get all this done, but then once I got it organized, it's organized and I'll be ready to go. All right, here is my first piece of steel. It's gonna have two angles on it, so it's gonna be on that hip end, so the porch goes up and the roof goes up. So my starting measurement was 58 3/4. I have a 612 roof pitch. That means over 3 feet. I'm growing 18 inches. So that means my ending needs to be 76 3/4. And then from my starting point, my porch pitch is 312. So that means I got to go up 9 inches. So I always like to lay my piece of steel. Imagine it going up. I'm starting here. So I know I got my line across here. And I've come up 9 inches. And that 3 foot mark is measured to the inside of the siphon rib, because if you measure 9 inches out here, your pitch is going to be wrong, because this is actually 38 inches here. It's 36 inch coverage, so you got to make sure you're measuring to the right spot. And then up there, that's my 58 3/4, and then my 612 roof pitch going up. I want to do all of this side steel first before I do my roof steel, because I don't want to be walking on it all. It's going to be a little bit more difficult getting some of my trims in there. I also need to use a ladder on top of the porch roof to be able to screw some of these taller pieces. So that's another reason I don't want to put the steel on, is because I got to have a place to build like a block to put my ladder against. So you can see up there, there's probably about right there is about as high as I can reach. So I'll have to get a ladder to get up there. So I don't want to put my roof steel on. Here is a little wood block that I cut. I just ripped it on the table saw 1 1/4 inches. So if you think about our roof steel coming up, that's 3/4 of an inch. Then we have our trim that goes behind the steel and over the top. I don't want to put any of that on because I don't want to risk scratching it. I've done this before, just ripped a block. I'm going to set it there, and then I know when I set my steel down, it should sit on this and it'll be spaced up exactly how I want it to be. So I'm going to get my first piece of steel. I've marked my first plumb line with the level, so we're ready to go. and then I'll figure out where I'm going to screw this. Alright, we're cruising along here. It's looking pretty darn good. This piece is going to be a challenge. So I have the J trim, bottom trim on this window, which I'm going to leave it off of this one. Kind of drew a little map for all my cuts. So I'm going to have to notch around this window, notch around this window, and then I got to go up, cut an angle, and then I got to get it in there without scratching the window. So I might put some tape over, see what kind of tape I got, maybe put some tape over that just so I don't scratch it. See what we can do. Just put the last piece up. Tell you what, that was a lot of up and down. I still have a few pieces under the window that we have to do, but what I'm going to do, since I have this all done and I'm done with the ladder, I'm going to go ahead and get slide end wall trim in there, which goes behind the steel and then out over the metal panel. So what I'll do is I'll rip some 2x4 the height of my steel panel, set it there so I know I'm not setting my trim down too far, and then I'll get that all slid in there, get that all prepped for my roof steel. It's supposed to rain all day tomorrow, so I want to get all this. I have to seal at each point yet. I want to get this bottom trim in, get these last little pieces in, and get this all tidied up. That took a long time. That's a lot of up and down for one person, but it looks amazing, so pretty pumped about it. I'm sure some people are going to be like, why in the world wouldn't you put your roof steel on first, then your trim, then your sidewall steel? And, you know, ideally that would be the best way to do it. Now, on this side, I am going to do that. So over here, I had a couple issues. One, I couldn't reach to put screws in, so I had to bring a ladder up here, which meant I needed to have a 2x4 screwed into the roof to be able to hold it up here. I could have rented an articulating lift, but that's, you know, $1,000. I opted for reason number one, so I could get my steel up using my ladder. Reason number two, I have these huge giant windows, which I've done this enough that I know when you're trying to work steel in and around all these windows, if you don't have an extra set of hands, and even with two people, it is very difficult not to scratch your roof steel, your end wall trim, and all that kind of good stuff. So that is why I chose to put the steel up. And now it is going to be a little more difficult, but I'm going to have to slide my trim in there. You can see I got flashing tape from the porch roof up the side all the way down. So I have an extra layer of protection there. If somehow water would get behind there, it would come down the paper and out the edge. Over here, I don't have any of that to deal with. I have really short pieces, so I'm going to show you how to do both. This is obviously going to be ideal, but I have no windows to go around. They're little pieces, and that's going to be way easier. Two different kinds of trim. So wherever you're going down the roof, and so like right here on this hip that goes this way, the steel will run this way, so I'll have ribs going this way. You have this trim. So it'll go up the wall, out over the first rib, and then onto the panel. So it sets up 3/4 of an inch. Then on your end wall, where you're just going to be, the ribs are all going to be going this way, you just have a piece of angle with a hem on it that goes up the wall, out over your steel, and then you use outside closure or an M-seal or something in there to close off those gaps. So those are the two types of trims we're going to be using. I'm going to put that one on first, bring it up. This one will overlap it. Steel will go on. Then I will have a hip trim that will come and tuck up underneath both of those. Right here I have 3/4 inch pieces of wood ripped so that I can make sure that when I'm setting my trim, I'm setting exactly where I need it to be. So when I put my steel up, it's not, the gap isn't too small or too big. So I ripped some 3/4 inch pieces of 2x4 down. Alright guys, so step one is I slid my trim in there, make sure it was pressed down, and then I snapped a line up this ridge right across my trim and then notch this out. And that's so that I can bend this down, and then this piece coming across will come out and over. I'll make sure I extend this piece far enough that when I bring my ridge in, I can tuck my ridge underneath that trim. This trim first, notch this out, then I'll make sure this extends quite a ways past. I'll mark out my ridge. I got a 16-inch ridge, so that means 8 inches each way. Make sure I bring that down far enough so that that can slide up underneath it. Now, here, I could have brought my metal down a little bit further, but like on short runs like this, what I think looks nice is if you take a piece of J, after you get this all done, and run a piece of J there. Got this coming up right here. Then we got this trim coming over. Cut it down here so that it can bend right there. We'll get that fastened, and then I will tape this with zip flashing tape, and then I will custom bend another piece right here just to give this an added layer of protection. And then my steel will come up and continue down. So you can see that extends all the way down. I got my 3/4 inch piece of board under there, so I know that my metal will slide up in there. So now I just got to keep running that all the way down to that ridge. We have all of our trim on. I'll wait to cut that once I bring that other side in, and I'll show you that when we do that. But outside my fingerprints and handprints all over this, this is looking sweet. So pretty self-explanatory. I put a 3/4 inch rip of 2x4 in there just to space that up for my steel. Same thing over here, I spaced that up. Put this one on first. This one comes over, overlaps down past where my hip will tie in, and my hip will get tucked underneath there and underneath there. I had to seam it there, so I do a second, basically it's a 90. So I put this in there, tape it all, bend another one, tape it, put my steel on, so there's plenty of protection here. Plus that ridge is going to go up underneath there too and get all the way up to the edge. It's pretty good. It's going to rain all day tomorrow, so we'll be working underneath the porch and probably inside. But you guys, this end wall took me all day. I mean, I did it by myself, but I mean, it was an all-day project, and it's not that, it's 40 feet across here. I will say that it looks amazing, and I've been Since we designed this, I knew this was going to be quite a bit of work, so happy that it turned out the way it did, and gonna get down because the gnats and the flies are coming alive.